thought I knew my husband. Turns out I didn't even know myself. My name is Julia. That evening, I was standing in my kitchen, stirring pasta sauce, when a single text message shattered my life forever. But that was just the beginning of a story that taught me the sweetest revenge is sometimes just moving on. It was Friday, October 7th. I remember it clearly because every year on that day, David and I celebrated our first meeting. 8 years ago, he spilled coffee on my white blouse in an office lobby, and a week later, we were kissing in the rain. The kitchen was filled with the scent of basil and rosemary, smells that always made our home feel warm. I was making his favorite pasta puttanesca, hoping to surprise him with a romantic dinner when he returned from his business trip to Chicago tomorrow. A glass of red wine, expensive, saved for special occasions, shimmered in my hand. I was humming, imagining him wrapping his arms around me tomorrow, saying he missed me, and us spending the weekend in bed, planning a Maldives vacation. I'd already saved up for the trip, a surprise for our wedding anniversary in December. My phone buzzed on the marble countertop next to the cutting board. The screen lit up with David, a heart I'd added early in our relationship and never changed. Smiling, I wiped my hands on my apron and picked up the phone, expecting his usual "miss you," "sunshine," or "can't wait to see you." Instead, I saw a message that froze the blood in my veins. "Pack your things and get out by Monday. I'm coming back with my new girlfriend. I don't need you anymore. Divorce through lawyers, don't call." Time stopped. The words blurred like ink smeared across paper. I read it again once, twice, 3 times, thinking it was a mistake, a hack, a prank, anything but reality. But it was his number. His writing style, cold, businesslike, not a single typo, like he was firing an employee, not ending 8 years of marriage in a text. My hands shook. The phone slipped from my fingers, hitting the tiled floor with a dull crack. The screen protector shattered into a web of cracks, just like my heart. I stood in the kitchen we'd chosen together, staring at our honeymoon photos on the fridge, his favorite mug in the dish rack, the calendar with our planned vacation marked. Reality was crumbling around me. David Harrison, my husband, the man who vowed to love me in sickness and health, who held my hand when my mom died, who called me his, had just thrown me out of his life via text, like canceling a subscription. For the first half hour, I sat numb on the cold, tiled floor, back against the pristine white fridge. The pasta overcooked in boiling water, the sauce burned and smoked, and the fire alarm screeched relentlessly. I stood like a robot, turned off the stove, opened the windows, silenced the alarm. Only then did I let myself truly process what had happened. 8 years. 8 years of shared life, plans, dreams, morning coffee in bed, fights over scattered socks, reconciliations with flowers and kisses. 8 years I thought I knew him better than I knew myself. But instead of tears, I expected them, braced for a night of sobbing. Something else came. Clarity, cold, sharp like an icy needle. I picked up the cracked phone, grabbed a spare from the kitchen drawer, and dialed his number. My hands no longer trembled. It rang, once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th, he hung up. I dialed again, and again. On the 5th try, he answered, and I heard his voice, familiar yet suddenly foreign. "Julia, don't call me. I explained everything in the text." "Explained?" My voice was eerily calm, even to me. "David, we've been married 8 years. 8 years. I deserve more than a text." Jazz music played in the background, romantic and soft. I heard clinking glasses, a woman's laughter. "Listen, I don't want a scene. It's over, okay? I have someone else and I'm happy. For the first time in years, truly happy." Each word hit like a slap. For the first time in years, so he wasn't happy with me, our entire life together. "Who is she?" My voice stayed steady, but something cold and sharp was rising inside me. "It doesn't matter." "It matters to me." A pause, then a young, bright female voice. "Who's that? You said your ex wouldn't call." Ex? I wasn't an ex yet. The divorce hadn't even been filed. But to him, I was already history. "It's no one, baby. Just old business." Old business. 8 years of marriage, old business. "David," I said slowly, enunciating every word. Are you with her right now? Julia. You're with her while your wife is cooking dinner at home, planning a surprise for the anniversary of our first meeting. Silence. The music in the background faded. What surprise? His voice wavered. Doesn't matter. What matters is you want me out of the house by Monday. Yes, I think it's best for everyone. Out of the house that's in my name. A longer pause. I heard him step away from the woman. The music grew quieter. What do you mean? I mean, David, the house on Maple Street with the white shutters and rose bushes I planted myself was bought with my money. From the inheritance from Grandma. Remember her. The one who baked your favorite apple pies. Julia. We put the house in my name at your request because of your credit issues. Remember, you said it was temporary until you fixed your credit score. The silence was deafening. I heard only his breathing and faint traffic noise. David, you there? We'll talk when I get back. No, we won't. You know what? Come back whenever you want. The house will be waiting. I hung up and smiled for the first time that evening. Not from joy, from anticipation. I didn't sleep that night. Not from tears or hysterics. A strategist I never knew existed woke up inside me. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, a strong coffee, and a stack of documents. By 3 a.m., I knew our finances better than the country's Treasury Secretary. Joint account, $47,000. Of that, $15,000 was my savings for the vacation. $20,000 was David's grandfather's inheritance, meant for home renovations. The remaining $12,000 came from selling my car last summer when we decided one car was enough. Credit cards, $23,000 in debt. Mostly his purchases, suits, expensive watches, restaurant dinners. I remembered him justifying them as necessary for his career image. House, $340,000, fully paid in my name. His car, a 2019 BMW, leased under my name without my knowledge. Monthly payment, $890. My car, a 2016 Civic, fully paid in my name. Insurance, life, health, home, cars, all in my name, all paid by me. By dawn, I had a plan. Saturday started at 6 a.m. first stop. Elizabeth Clark, the best family lawyer in town, known for taking no prisoners in divorce cases. Her office was in a historic downtown building, high ceilings, oak panels, stern judge portraits on the walls. Elizabeth, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and a tight bun and a gaze that could freeze lava, flipped through the documents I brought. Mrs. Harrison, she said, making notes, tell me everything from the start. I told her. The text, the call, what I'd learned about our finances overnight. 8 years of marriage, house in your name, joint accounts, significant debt on his part. Elizabeth scribbled. Julia, you're in a strong position, especially since he tried to kick you out of your own house via text. What can you do? Everything. Her smile was predatory. Freeze joint accounts pending review. File for divorce first with a claim for emotional distress. Secure your rights to all marital assets. Revoke his powers of attorney and access to documents. How fast? Papers will be ready by Monday. Want to play hardball? I want to play fair, but if he wants a war, he'll get one. Then a piece of advice. Elizabeth set down her pen and looked me in the eye. In cases like this, emotions are your enemy. Act coldly, methodically, based on facts. Always stay one step ahead. Next stop, a private investigator's office. Stone, recommended by Elizabeth, was the best in town. A short man in his 40s with sharp eyes and a trustworthy demeanor. Mrs. Harrison, what do you want to know about your husband? Everything. Where he is, who he's with, how long it's been going on, if he's spending our money on his affairs. It might hurt. I've already felt the pain. Now I need facts. All right, it'll take a few days. I've got time. While worked, I did my own digging. I started with David's laptop, left at home for work during trips. His password, our wedding date. Ironic. What I found was worse than my worst fears. His browser history was full of dating sites, profiles on 3 platforms listing himself as divorced, seeking serious relationships. Photos I took during our vacations, with me cropped out. Messages, dozens of messages with different women, some dating back a year. "You're so beautiful, Anna. Wish we'd met before I was free." "Lisa, baby, my wife hasn't understood me in years. We're basically roommates." "Sarah, you give me something I haven't had in years, passion." With each message, the icy calm inside me grew stronger. He wasn't just cheating. He was systematically deceiving multiple women, telling each what they wanted to hear. But the messages with Victoria Stone, his current fling, hit hardest. "Victoria, my love, I've finally decided to file for divorce. She won't fight it. I'm so happy. We can finally be together openly. She has no idea. Thinks I'm on a business trip while I'm having the best days of my life with you. What about the house? You said it's in your name." "Don't worry. Julia will sign whatever I need. She's always been compliant." Compliant. 8 years of loyalty, support, understanding. He called that compliance. Sunday morning called. "Mrs. Harrison, I have information. Want to meet." We met at a small on the city's edge. He handed me a thick folder. "Your husband was never on a business trip to Chicago. For 3 weeks, he's been living at the Grand Plaza Hotel in a luxury suite with Victoria Stone, a 24-year-old assistant manager from his office." He showed me photos. David and a woman entering the hotel, dining on a restaurant terrace, kissing by a fountain. "They're registered as husband and wife. He's paying with your joint credit card. About $8,000 spent in 3 weeks. What else? He was fired last week for violating corporate ethics, an affair with a subordinate. Miss Stone was also let go." The puzzle pieces formed a grim picture. "There's more," added, pulling out documents. "His BMW was repossessed yesterday morning for missed lease payments. So he's jobless, carless, spending our money on a hotel, and planning to bring his mistress to my house." "Exactly." I closed the folder and smiled. "Mr. Stone, you've exceeded my expectations." Sunday evening, I prepared the house, not by cleaning but by gathering evidence. I photographed every document in his study, files from his computer, and packed his belongings, clothes, books, his prized vinyl collection, into trash bags labeled for David and moved them to the garage. The house was spotless, every surface gleaming, every pillow in place. I wanted it to look like a magazine cover when he returned, beautiful, lifeless. Monday morning, I woke at 5 a.m., got ready, and waited. I wore my best dress, the black one he said made me look stunning. Hair styled, lips painted. If this was a battle, I'd look like a victor. At 4 p.m., I heard a taxi on the driveway. My heart raced, not from nerves but from readiness. David stepped out first, tanned, rested, happy, in a new, expensive suit I hadn't seen before. Then she emerged. Victoria Stone was exactly as I'd imagined. Tall, slim, honey hair, a smile worth a fortune to a dentist. Short red dress, stilettos, bag, a woman used to getting what she wanted. They held hands, walking toward the house. I saw him whisper something. She laughed, pressing closer. The key didn't fit the lock. I'd changed the locks on Sunday. "What the hell?" His voice carried through the window. He tried again, then pounded on the door. "Julia, open the door." I waited a moment, savoring his confusion, then opened it slowly. "Hey, honey," I smiled, standing in the doorway. "How was the trip? Chicago nice this time of year?" David froze. Victoria looked at him, puzzled. "Is that your ex-wife? You said she'd moved out." "Ex," I stepped closer to her. "Funny, no one told me I was an ex. Victoria, right? I'm Julia, David's real, legal, still married wife." Her face paled under her makeup. "Wife, you said you've been divorced for 6 months." "Lied," I turned to him with a sweet smile. "About a lot of things, I bet. Come in, don't stand in the doorway. Let's talk like civilized people." We went to the living room. I sat in my favorite armchair, they stood. Victoria looked lost, David angry. Julia, what's this drama? I told you to move out. And I told you the house is in my name, but let's not repeat ourselves. I pulled out the folder. Tell Victoria the truth, like how you got fired. What? She spun to face him. For an affair with a subordinate, I continued. You, darling, corporate ethics, you know. David, is that true? Julia, enough. Or how your BMW was repossessed for missed payments, hence the taxi. Victoria's eyes widened. And I stood and walked to the window. Fun fact, David. Remember Anna from accounting, Lisa from marketing, Sarah from the ad agency. His face turned ashen. Victoria, you're seeing them all at the same time. And you want to see the messages. That's a lie. David stepped toward me, but I raised a hand. Want me to read them aloud? Lisa, baby, my wife hasn't understood me in years. Or this. Sarah, you give me passion I haven't felt in years. Victoria stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. And you, Victoria, he wrote, she has no idea. Thinks I'm on a business trip while I'm having the best days of my life with you. You read our messages. David's voice shook with rage. Your password is our wedding date. Pretty symbolic, don't you think? Victoria started crying, mascara streaking her cheeks. You liar, she slapped him hard, the sound echoing off the walls. 3 weeks, I thought we were building something. Victoria, calm down, I can explain. Don't tell me to calm down. She was on the verge of hysterics. You said you loved me, that you wanted to marry me. Marry, I laughed. To an unemployed woman with no means, David's too practical for that. Julia, shut up. No, let her talk. Victoria turned to me. What else do you know? That he spent $8,000 of our joint money on your hotel and restaurants, and he planned to bring you here and make me sign over half the house. He clenched his jaw, silent. But the best part, I sat next to Victoria, is what he said about me. Julia will sign anything. She's always been compliant. Victoria looked at me, tears in her eyes. And about you and his other women. It's so easy to tell a woman what she wants to hear, and she'll do anything. Enough, David stormed out. We sat in silence. Victoria sobbed. I watched her with unexpected sympathy. Julia, she looked up, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. I know. What do we do now? You find a man who won't lie to you. I get a divorce. Victoria stood, fixed her dress, wiped her tears. I'm leaving. Tell him he'll never see me again. I will. She reached the door, turned back. Julia, you're a strong woman, he doesn't deserve you. After she left, I sat in the armchair, waiting. David returned half an hour later, disheveled and angry. Satisfied, he stood in the living room like a defendant in court. Quite. He glared, his eyes flickering between rage and desperation. You think this is it, he said, trying to sound menacing. You think you can just take everything, house, money, my reputation. I have rights, Julia, we're married. We're married, I corrected, opening Elizabeth's folder. Divorce papers, I'm filing tomorrow. You do have rights like taking your stuff from the garage and starting over, without me. I tossed the folder onto the coffee table. It landed with a thud, like a verdict. He stared at it like it might explode. You're serious, his voice softened, almost pleading. After everything, 8 years, Julia, you'd throw it all away. I stood, walked to him, stopping a few feet away. For the first time that evening, I felt a flicker of warmth, not anger, not pain, but pity. It passed quickly. You threw it away, David, I said quietly. When you sent that text, when you lied to me, Victoria, Anna, Lisa, Sarah, when you spent our money on your new life, I'm just picking up the pieces. He opened his mouth, but I raised a hand. No more excuses. Your things are in the garage. You have 1 hour to take them and leave. If you don't, I'll call the police. His face twisted like I'd struck him. He stood silent, then turned and walked to the door. At the threshold, he paused. You'll regret this, he said over his shoulder. I already don't, I replied, and the door slammed shut. I stood in the quiet living room, listening to his footsteps fade. The sound of the taxi driving away was the final note of this long, exhausting symphony. I didn't look out the window to watch him go. I didn't care. Instead, I poured a glass of the wine meant for our romantic dinner. I played music, not his jazz, but an old James record he hated. At last, filled the house with warm, living sound, and the tension of the past days began to ease. I walked through the house, room by room, like seeing it for the first time. The kitchen where I cooked while my life fell apart. The bedroom where we once whispered about the future. The living room where our final talk ended. This house was mine, but it was full of his traces. Time to change that. I called a cleaning company for a deep clean tomorrow. Then I contacted a realtor. I decided to sell the house. Not because I couldn't live in it, but because I wanted a fresh start. A new place, a new story, mine alone. By midnight, I was on the terrace with my laptop, browsing listings for countryside cottages. One caught my eye, a small lakeside house with a veranda and garden for lavender. I smiled, imagining morning coffee by the water. That was what I needed. The divorce went smoothly. Elizabeth was ruthless, as promised. We split the joint accounts, pinning the debts on David. His signature was on every credit card. I sold the house 2 months later for $360,000 above market value. The money hit my account, and I felt like I'd reclaimed not just my finances, but my life. David tried contacting me through lawyers, demanding a fair split. Elizabeth shut him down, citing evidence of his affairs and financial misconduct. He backed off. Last I heard, he'd moved to another state, renting an apartment and working as a manager at some small firm. Victoria, true to her word, vanished from his life. I bought the lakeside cottage. It was better than the photos. Wooden floors, big windows overlooking the water, a garden I turned into a paradise of roses, lavender, and wild herbs. Mornings started with runs along the shore, evenings at an easel. Painting, abandoned during my marriage, became part of my life again. My watercolors sold at a local gallery, not for much, but for joy. 6 months after the divorce, I got a letter from Anna, one of David's other women. She thanked me for opening her eyes and shared that she'd started a new life with someone who valued her. I wished her well, thinking my revenge wasn't just mine. It freed others too. A year later, I sat on my cottage veranda, watching the sunset over the lake. A glass of white wine in hand, a sketchbook on the table with a landscape in progress. My phone buzzed, Elizabeth. Julia, divorce papers are officially closed. You're free. Plans for the future. I smiled, set the phone down, and looked at the water, golden in the sunset. Plans, simple and clear. Live. Live for myself, my dreams, new horizons. I no longer sought approval or lived for others' expectations. I was me, and that was enough. Revenge, I learned, isn't always about destroying someone else. Sometimes it's about building a life you're proud of, a life with no room for those who tried to break you. I raised my glass to the sunset and whispered, to me. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. See you tomorrow.